Well, it's perfect. You get into this topic because recently in your recent articles and podcasts, you have dedicated a lot of room to the soul. And you mentioned in one of your recent articles a particularly troublesome one, that you receive patients who are medicated by psychiatrists for experiencing transcendental experience, or simply the experience of God, simply. It's we also, I mean, and you had a recent very interesting interview by Freya India, in which, like, I mean, you ventured into the pathologization of certain political tendency, and particularly conservative political tendencies. Can you expand a little bit on this?
Yes, thank you for exploring this topic. So first of all, there's certain things I know to be true, and the paradigm in which we approach our physical health, the materialist paradigm that is driven by kind of atheist perspectives, is a flawed and just flat out wrong paradigm. It would keep people sick and dependent on a false god. We are a soul in a body, inhabiting this body for human experience. We're energetic beings, and the more that we get away from understanding ourselves outside of the materialist atheist paradigm, the sicker we become. The more we get disconnected from God, the more we get disconnected from nature, the worse we feel. I think that's obvious. I think we're supposed to be connected to one with God and with our environment, with nature. And I think we're purposely being disconnected from God intentionally through the use of technology, media, and ideas around the materialist paradigm. We've just shifted our focus and our attention to a greater connection to divinity, and we've surrendered a lot of that authority to politicians and medical professionals, and we're supposed to blindly follow them. So when I wrote that article, I was speaking to what I see as increasing across the globe is the experience of a transcendental experience of connection to the oneness of all things, the experience of God in their lives, greater purpose and meaning, turning to prayer, turning to meditation, and feeling an awakening that the purpose of their life extends beyond just the ego and the developed identity of this one life. And speaking about that, or talking about that in the US materialist atheist paradigm, the medical system, especially the mental health system and the way it's trained, may be viewed as a religious delusion. Mm-hmm. It's certainly the way that you're conditioned and trained is not to talk about life as a journey, the hero's journey, a journey where the soul is continuously learning and there's a purpose, and then you can experience God throughout this journey as a guide, even to flow through you energetically as a creator. And we don't have these type of conversations, although they've been written about for centuries. We kind of disconnect us to this idea that we are being spoken to through guides, angels, spirits, and that there's an all-loving force in the universe. So when you deny that, when you create that to be quote unquote a delusion or psychosis, you're going to just create a fear-based energy around it. And then you report that in the medical system or with your therapist, it's going to be pathologized and drugged. So I titled an article clearly that states the one thing you don't want to tell a mental health professional, because if you do, it's going to be misunderstood, misinterpreted, your freedom can be taken away from you. And, when we think about, more conservative individuals, right? If you're more likely to skew towards the right or conservative values because of your belief in a greater source, you have religious beliefs You believe that life in itself is supposed to be challenging and difficult, and you believe in individual freedom and autonomy from a government, for example, that God is the ultimate authority, and we're going to be judged individually based upon that. If you enter into a typical therapy with the poorly trained US therapists who've, can be like 25, 26, 27 years old with no experience, tend to be white women who skew liberal, then a lot of traditional viewpoints around family, around marriage, around gender roles, they can all put you at risk from a therapist who kind of views that as somebody who is conditioned within a culture of oppression. And from this feminist perspective, social justice perspective, they believe it's their role as a therapist to try to get you to understand those belief systems to be culturally conditioned, and that your happiness will come from breaking through those traditional, like oppressive ideas. That could be the institutions of marriage, the institutions of religion, or even the idea that there is a difference between a man and a woman. And so it's really not a favorable environment for somebody who is more conservative. I think it is an arm of the intelligence agencies in the United States to have its influence on the mental health industrial complex. How do I come to that conclusion? Well, the intelligence agencies have been involved in this for decades through MKUltra, and they are interested in how you can create a more subservient population, and also to how to create division in a population. And when that occurs, you are more likely to act in fear, and you are more vulnerable to giving up your freedoms. That's what happens. I mean, there's just the psychological operations in this. If you're somebody who believes that God is the ultimate authority, freedom is provided to you by God, and that you're an energetic soul that extends beyond just this body, then you're more likely to engage in revolution. You're going to resist that authority, because your purpose on this life is much greater than just clinging to this illusion of who you are and fearing death.